Hello and welcome to my video, lesson 1.5 on currency exchange rate. So here we have two different exchange rates and two different questions. And so let's take a look at the general theory or the general idea of going about these types of questions. So currently the US dollar would sell for $1 would sell for $1.32 for Canadian. How many US dollars would Mr. Drager get for 200 Canadian? So the question always is, what are you looking for? So this is very, very similar to 1.1 actually. So go back to that video if you haven't watched it already. But you can do the same thing here. So the question is, what do we want to know? Well, we want to know how many USD can we get, right? How much can we get? And what do we know? Well, we know we have 200 Canadian dollars. So the question is, we're going to have to make more space here. The question is, what do we put on the other side of this equation? We want to know how many US dollars we have, the amount of Canadian dollars. Well, we just need to make sure we have the same on the top as we had on the other side. So on this side, we'll have 1 USD. And on this side, we have 1.32 Canadian. So just a reminder of where those things are coming from. 1 USD, 1.32 Canadian, 200 Canadian. So now that we have this set up, this is wonderful. Let's actually give ourselves a little bit more room. Now that we have this set up, now we need to go through opposite operators. So opposite of multiplication is division. Opposite of division is multiplication. Opposite of addition is subtraction. Opposite of subtraction is addition. Okay, well, we are dividing right now by 200. The unknown is being divided by 200. So we want to get rid of that 200 and put it on the other side. So we want to multiply by 200. $200, Canadian. CAD. And if we do it to one side, we want to do it to the other side. Let's just write that out properly. CAD. There you go. Because this is important if we are getting rid of, so 200 CAD cancel out. Anything divided by itself cancels. But the CAD is being divided by CAD. Those cancel. Okay, so now what are we left with? What are we left with? Well, we're left with an unknown amount of US dollars. And that is equal to 200 times by 1, which is just 200, divided by 1.32 USD. Well, look at that. If we just type that into our calculator, 200 divided by 1.32, it equals 151, or 52, because we round up, dollars. So the question was, how much USD do we get? Well, we get 151.52 US dollars. Now, banks always take a cut of it, but anyways, that's the exact exchange rate. Okay, that's what it was today as of making this video. Pretty bad, actually. Not as bad as it's ever gotten, but one of the worst. It's pretty bad right now. So sometimes Canadian dollar will be almost equal to US dollar. Right now, Canadian dollar is really, really bad. For the amount of Canadian that we're giving, we get very little US dollars. Okay, let's look at this next question. Same idea, but with euros and written opposite. So the question is, what do we want to know? Well, we want to know how many euros would Mr. Drager get for 200 Canadian. So the question is, how many euros? And you write euros like this. Whoops. How many euros? Well, and the question is, or the other part of it is, well, Mr. Drager has 200 Canadian. Then you talk about the exchange rate on the other side, and we make sure that we have the same thing on top that we had before. So we had euros on top before, so we make sure we have euros on top now. And 1 Canadian, so if we had 1 Canadian on the bottom, or if we have Canadian on the bottom, we have Canadian on the bottom on the other side. So just showing US dollars on top, US dollars on top. Canadians on the bottom, Canadians on the bottom. Canadians on the bottom, Canadians on the bottom, and euros on top, euros on top. So as long as whatever's on the top is still on the top, whatever's on the bottom is still on the bottom. Okay, so the next step is the same thing. So we use opposite operators to multiply across. So 200 Canadian, 200 Canadian divided by 200 Canadian cancels out. Canadian divided by Canadian cancels out. So now we are left with, sorry about the keyboard popping up all the time. Now we are left with some amount of euros equals 200 times by 0.64 divided by 1, which does nothing because it's dividing by 1, euros. So now we need to just multiply those two numbers, 0.64, and we are left with 128 euros. So a follow-up question might ask, well, which is stronger, the US dollar or the euro? And in this case, well, we can see the euro is stronger because we're getting less euros for the amount of Canadian. All right, I hope this video helps you understand currency and exchange rate a little bit better, and good luck.